Wasabi everybody, Jaxxsin here, and today I'm going to do a quick critique and review of No Man's Sky for the PS4. And I have to say the PS4 because the PC version is a fucking disaster. You know, you could call it a fucking train wreck. And in regards to that, I'm just going to say this: it is my personal strong moral standpoint that you should not be selling video games to anyone unless they are doing what they're intended to do, especially at a fucking high price like that. I feel like if the game isn't functioning as intended, it shouldn't be up for sale. It should be pushed, it should be fixed, and then you sell it later, and that's just the way it is. I don't care if it's console, PC, or fucking goddamn the mobile app store. No one should be selling a game that doesn't function as advertised. If you're doing that, you're fucking in the wrong, and that's the end of it. That's how I feel. Now moving along to my personal experience with the PS4 version of No Man's Sky. Now, the way I'm going to do this, if you're new to my reviews, this is unscripted. This is what you could say is a haphazardly rehearsed set of thoughts. Okay, so I've had these thoughts. I'm going to try to fucking lay them out for you guys, but I'm going to interlayer my critique with positive experiences in the game because I had a lot of positive experiences in this game, and in a lot of places this game is really fucking strong and it does what it was supposed to do, and it feels very, very awesome. Okay, but and I'm going to layer that with the places where in this game I feel like if this is the No Man's Sky that I'm going to say this: if No Man's Sky doesn't change at all, then this shouldn't have been sold for $60. This is a $40 title max, and that's just my personal opinion with it, and I have a lot of experience with playing indie game titles and things like that, and so at the end I'm going to explain why I feel like that should be the way it is. But for the starters, let's get into my major problem with No Man's Sky for the PS4, and that is the hard crashes in this game. I have experienced at least a handful, or maybe I would say at least a dozen hard crashes. My brother, probably more. Now, bear in mind we were playing No Man's Sky for extended periods of time, and so I don't know if that made a difference. Maybe the system was overheating because the game is, it's struggling to run the game. That's possible. I personally have a desk fan on my PS4 at all times. I air dust it regularly. It's very, I take care of my fucking consoles. I have since my fucking second PS2 burned out. I've been very careful with my consoles since then. And so the thing is these were annoying and a pain in the ass, and there was even one instance, a very scary situation. I'll have a link to the video below, but I thought that I had basically lost 30 plus hours of gameplay, and I got it back, thank God, but it was still, hard crash was the problem, and then the load wouldn't load my save data, it would only hard crash, and so hard crashes are my problem, and that's where I experienced most of the hard crashes, was in that instance. Outside of that instance, I would say it's been about a handful, but if you include those, it's been a dozen or more, because I sat there for a very long time trying to reload those saves, and it would just hard crash over and over again. So that said, let's talk about my other little problems with fucking No Man's Sky as they came up, okay? So for starters, let's just say that I love the way the game starts. I love the core play of the game, like the going out, finding resources, scavenging, survivalist shit in deep space. Fuck yeah, I'm in, and I enjoy all of that. It's very good. I enjoy the way the story is presented itself, where you're put in these situations where a lot of the story you're getting is from aliens that you can't read their language, or but you're given the opportunity to do that, and that gives you, okay, you're put in these unique situations with these monoliths, for instance, where you go in there, and sometimes you're put with a scenario where you have three options, and if you have no knowledge of the alien race in the solar system, or you have no knowledge of any of that people, you're going to fail that encounter miserably, and you're going to have to basically take a guess at a multiple choice question. Now, if you go into that same situation, for instance, I had landed on this planet with Viking, and I was very excited to learn the Viking about them, because I had learned all about the Gek, and I had learned all about the Korvax, but I wanted to learn more about the fucking Viking. And so I was very excited, and I started to go and do these obelisks, and I learned through this that they were like the Dothraki from the Game of Thrones, where they were a very warrior-like race, very strong warrior-like values and things like that. And so I came across that, before that happened, I was placed in this situation where I was basically picking multiple choice, and I was failing a lot of them. But there reached this point where I had this one where it says the thing opens up and you see a Viking warrior hung up with his chest tore open, his heart is still beating, but his lungs lay upon the floor. And I was given with two options. I think one may have been to heal him, one may have been to let him go, like cut him down. But the third option was the one that most intrigued me, because it simply said, pick the lungs up off the ground and replace them, put them back with the heart. And I thought in my mind, like, okay, so this is a very warrior-like, proud race. This proud warrior, even in his suffering, would not want me to free him. He would not want me to heal him. What this proud warrior would want is for me to just return to him his lungs so he can, at least suffer in a whole fashion. And I did it, and I was rewarded, and I got a schematic that I didn't know. And that was a very cool instance, and these are very cool ways that this story is, presented to yourself. It is presented to you, the player. I enjoy this. But there's also with that this instance where I'm finding this like crazy fungus that's very tentacle-y looking with spikes coming out of it, and I'm finding these notes, and they're very cool and intriguing, and they're leading along that either the person leaving them is insane or something incredibly crazy is going on, and it's leading to like this kind of Lovecraftian thing. And I'm no expert in all things Lovecraftian, but I have a friend, Aristotle, who definitely is, and from what I understand of things that he said, this is very heavily influenced by Lovecraft. This is heavily influenced by Lovecraft. Taking from that his knowledge and his, I'm able to say that this little story felt Lovecraftian, and it was very cool, and it was moving along nicely, and I was enjoying it. But at a certain point, I just started to see the same notes repeating themselves over and over again, and this felt like there was no completion. It felt, it felt cheap when I was starting to read things I'd already read again in a different solar system, in an entirely different facility, on an entirely different planet, across the galaxy. And so these things are that's just one of the things that bothered me, is with that there needed to be some sort of completion. But as far as like the way the story's presented with the aliens and how it like describes the alien races, I felt like that was excellent and well done indeed. Now, moving on to my first issue with No Man's Sky, as I was immersing myself into this world, and and like I said, that critique about the story, I didn't find that for way later. That story was presented very slowly and in a very cool way, and I was enveloped, and it wasn't until I got the same one repeated a few different times that I started to feel burned. But in the beginning, No Man's Sky was an excellent game, and I was in love with it. But the first thing I noticed that kind of started to wear and tear on me was the fact that I couldn't leave waypoints on the planet, and I felt like this kind of broke my immersion with this. I'm lost, but I have a ship, I have this, why can't I just like leave a marker at this space station, on or this whatever, a trading post, where I have access to a store where I can come back and sell all my goods that I'm mining off this planet. Like, why couldn't my character do that? I think my character would be able to figure out some sort of way of leaving a marker to a good spot like that he needed to know. So that was my problem with that. I started to notice this, the scanner that scans, it started to send you to places you'd already been. Sometimes it would send you to a place and you'd go there and there would be nothing there and the marker would disappear. You'd leave, but the marker would stay there, and the whole goddamn time you're in the system, this marker's there, and it's driving you nuts because you're itchy, because you gotta explore everything, and there's just this marker that doesn't make sense, and you can't figure it out, man, and it's driving you crazy, and you're pulling your hair out of your head. And then you start to realize how insane you are, and it's a bad situation all around. So that was a little frustrating. But other than that, man, another problem I had with it was some things in the inventory didn't stack that would have made sense to stack. Like, for instance, there's shielding units that you can use to recharge your ship shield immediately and things like that. And I felt like these should have been able to stack, but because, like, you want to have more than one or two of those, and if you have, 2 or 3 of those, you have 3 entire inventory slots that you cannot use. And in this universe, it's taking a lot of work in order to make the credits you need in order to upgrade your ship, or even a lot of work to find the materials you need to salvage a ship that you have found. And by doing this and limiting the player's inventory in this way, you're kind of handicapping someone who's already just been shot in the knee, if that makes sense, because you start off with very few limited inventory slots. The chance of finding, your exosuit upgrades in the beginning is completely random. You may never even find some for a while. I remember it took me a very long time before I personally started to find them, before I started to notice them and see them, but I knew what they looked like because my brother had posted a video about them, where they were, how you could find them. My other brother had shown me personally, look dude, it's like this, and then, like I was aware of them, but I wasn't finding them for a very long time. In my first couple of solar systems, I just couldn't find any. For some reason, I found, I think, 2 or 3, and it just felt very sparse. And so you're already handicapped, but then you're added into this situation where, okay, well, this may be very, very, very important, but I can also put like 1,000 emerald in there that'll sell for $500,000. So what, you're put in this situation where you're like, what do I do? Do I keep this thing that may potentially be good? I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know how later in the game that it's going to be relevant, but right now I need that valuable ship slot. And so maybe you have 2 or 3 of these things, you say fuck it, and you dump a couple of them because why not? You've got one of them. If you need more than that, hopefully in that situation you'll be able to find them. And so I felt like the inventory system definitely could use some work. The AI on the enemy units is very stupid. It's not very good AI on an enemy unit. Other than that though, like I said, man, this is a beautiful game, and in a lot of ways No Man's Sky works and does exactly what it's supposed to do. It puts you there on this planet. It makes you think about this planet's history, like why does this planet look like this? I had one particular planet that I just loved because it looked like it had suffered like an extinction level event, but everything was growing and starting to survive, and it looked maybe like what in my opinion Earth might have looked like many moons ago. And so that sort of situation where I begin to think and I start to think about my personal place in this fucking like my grain of sand that is me on this beach of time, and it's just like these sorts of things that make me think, and then they present you with this story of these interesting alien races and like their things and where they have come from and like their follies, their faults. You're starting to learn how the viciousness of this one, but then it's crazy. There's a lot of good here, and I just feel like if No Man's Sky grows and Sean Murray lives up to, there was no season pass, so that's one promise he has kept. And I remember him saying that No Man's Sky was definitely a project that he and Hello Games were going to continue to build and expand upon. Alright, so if this is a situation where it's like that, then once again we're just facing the same old bullshit of early access fucking, releases. And in that instance, I'm gonna have to say No Man's Sky, if we're viewing it as like the rest of these AAA early access games, I feel like No Man's Sky does a better job of putting me there. It does a better job of making me the gamer, use my mind and, problem solve. And like I said, it puts you in that situation where you want to gain knowledge to go into these encounters. And, making someone seek knowledge is never a bad thing. So at least it has that going for it, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts, and that's basically my review on No Man's Sky. Let me know what you guys thought. I understand if you're on PC, you probably got a whole different point of view, and go ahead and put it down there. And I understand if you're one of these people who did get this hard crash bug and haven't gotten your stuff, or my buddy Tyler, he got one where he can't get a warp drive. You're gonna be pissed. Let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know what you guys thought of No Man's Sky. Let me know what you thought of the video by up-clicking or down-clicking. That's it for me, Jaxxsin. I'm out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you got some entertainment. Till next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and keep kicking fucking ass.